Doc, write my Percocet or I'm buying it on the street and my death will be on your hands. How about I get you some help? I got things to do. Give me my motherfucking papers. Let me get out of here. I need to go to work and I need a cab voucher. Yes, this is what we see daily. It's pretty much what every ER doctor now sees. Why are we more worried about gluten than heroin? Processed corn syrup than oxycodone? Peanuts than hydrocodone? Perhaps it's because we are afraid to cross that abyss and admit that heroin is now something that children of the middle and upper class should be warned about. Our state of mind in regard to heroin has largely been I'm as worried about heroin as I am my son or daughter will be eaten by a lion in my front yard. This is the Hamptons. This is Highland Park. This is the best school district in the Midwest with the highest SAT scores. As an ER doctor, let me be the one to tell you the lion is in your yard. Unquote. I found this personal article from an emergency room doctor about his experience working with addicts. This article is titled When the Lion Kills Your Child and is written by Dr. Louis Profeta. He describes what it is like working in the ER and how heroin is more likely to kill your child than a lion in your backyard. So today, we're talking about opioids. We're talking about addiction. We're talking about how Kentucky has to save its own life and why we need help. So House Bill 314, thank God, because we needed you. According to the Kentucky legislation website, House Bill 314 reads, retain original provisions except require hospitals to report all Schedule II drugs dispensed and all scheduled drugs dispensed by emergency department of a hospital to an emergency department patient, exempt Schedule III through IV drugs dispensed by a practitioner at a facility if the quantity dispensed is for a maximum of 48 hours and is not dispensed by a hospital's emergency department, require reporting of all positive toxicology tests conducted by an emergency department, remove a requirement for practitioners that administer to register and report to Casper. Unquote. That was really boring and a lot to read, so let's break it down and understand why this new law is a good thing for Kentucky. What this law is doing is allowing an online reporting system known as Casper to be used in hospital and ER settings, and not just limited to doctors' offices. We will get into what Casper is and how it came about. See, the problem is that back in the early 2000s, people did this thing called doc shopping. They would go complain of extreme pain to one doctor and get prescribed pain meds. They would drive to the next city and they would do the same thing with that doctor and they would get more pain meds. And then the next. And they got away with it because doctors didn't know what else they had been prescribed. If they ordered a prescription report, it could take months for them to see what else and who else had prescribed to that particular patient. And then Kentucky had this brilliant idea that we were going to pioneer this awesome system known as Casper. It stands for Kentucky All Schedule Prescription Electronic Reporting System. It's a mouthful, so it's just Casper for short. And then, all of a sudden, it didn't take months for doctors or pharmacists to see what else people had been prescribed and how recently. It only took minutes. The system moved completely online and it made it so much easier for doctors and that much harder for people with pain pill addiction. But for years, Casper was limited only to doctors' offices and pharmacies. It was not available in hospitals or the ER. Until now, with House Bill 314. Now, hospitals and emergency rooms must also document when they use certain classes of medicine. Because of this, doctors now have a new insight to what is being given to people. It is that much harder to doctor shop and now ER shop. I interviewed a family friend, Ed Wahl, to ask him about his experience and opinion on the new Casper changes. Ed has been a pharmacist in retail settings for 34 years now.
Hello?
Hey Ed, this is Maddie. How are you?
Fine, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. And I appreciate you letting me call you this morning and stuff. It was super nice of you.
Oh, that's no problem at all.
Yeah, so Ed works in Indiana and is very familiar with Casper in Kentucky and also familiar with a similar program in Indiana known as Inspect. Ed filled me in on why these programs are important, especially in regional areas like the Kentucky-Indiana border. If you'd have any experience with Casper or what you thought about it and stuff like that.
Yeah, I do use. Now I don't work in Kentucky as much as I used to. I work in Indiana. We have something over there called Inspect.
Inspect, okay.
Which is basically the same thing. And what they have done with Casper and Inspect, and I know when I do a search on Inspect, I can link other states in. So there are other states that are, especially regional, that are linking into this to be able to provide information if that state. I'm not sure if all states are collecting information, but there is a link. And I know Indiana and Kentucky work really well together.
Yeah.
And because of the border, we can see people that are maybe doctor shopping or hopping from one place to another.
Right.
They'll think, well, I had my prescription filled in Kentucky last. I'm about 10 days early. I'm going to go to Indiana to see if I can get a bill.
Yes.
What we're talking about is opiates and controls. Of course, that's what they're using Casper for. So.
Ed agrees that programs like Casper and Inspect have definitely stopped doc shopping, and now with this new law, ER shopping. Ed also agrees that these laws are important, especially in regional areas like the Kentucky-Indiana border, where people can hop state to state and doc shop for pain pills. However, I asked Ed what he thought about this new law and if he thought it was good. Ed agrees that it's good, but he voices a few concerns that we're going to talk about. Do you think it's going to be good for the doctors to have a little bit more insight?
Oh, absolutely. Now, what's bad is you look at the flip of the coin on this, and you'll hear people say, well, if they're not getting legally, they're going to get it illegally.
Yeah.
Which, you look at the crime aspect of that.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to rob somebody to get it, or they're going to turn to street drugs.
Right.
So it's
messy.
It's a real dilemma.
Yeah, it's a messy situation for sure. Ed is right. If they can't get it legally anymore, they're going to start getting it illegally. And when it's too much to support their habit, that's when we move into opioids like heroin. So, what's the next step from here? Personally, I think this is a step in the right direction, but this doesn't even begin to put a band-aid on the bleeding open wound known as the heroin epidemic in this country. This is salt to the wound, but it needs more. It needs healing, and deep wounds don't heal easy. We need more. We need to attack this like it is the real-life zombie apocalypse, because it is. This is real, and it is everywhere. It affects people I love, and I'm sure if you're listening, you know someone too. But my heart goes out to all of you, because loving an addict is hard. But just know, as a state, we are trying. I'm Maddie Miles, and thank you for listening to What the Health is Going On. Special thanks to Kentucky Legislation Online, family friend and pharmacist, Ed Wahl, Kentucky Casper Online, and my amazing mentor, Dr. Sarah Kirksmar. Tune in for my next episode.